this is Dave with the Espresso Service Network, and today we're going over the Slayer LP. So 4 screws for your back. So whenever you're working back here, you should only have a tech working back here, first of all. Just keep in mind there's high voltages. Anytime you're working with electricity or electronics, you either need to have the power off and unplugged the unit, or you should know what you're doing before you're just going into this. But back here we have our main board, and then we have a transformer assembly, and then these are our heating element triacs or solid state relays. So this is our steam boiler solid state relay, and then our left and right brew group boiler steam relays.
So
heater relays.
Any maintenance here? Any parts replacements?
No.
Okay.
None.
Would you check the terminals?
I would generally, especially our high voltage wire connections on our solid state relays, I would be inspecting those yearly.
Okay.
You know, usually you'll see some problems up at the heating elements and stuff like that are being created, and then of course
what kind of
the wire terminals are getting discolored, and it seems like the plastic, when it gets super hot, will start to get brittle. And of course the wire end itself, the wire coating will become brittle and start, Another thing, obviously you can feel the heat off a wire while it's heating.
So you just
And if it's super hot, then there's usually an issue where there's a connection problem somewhere. So it could either be back here, it can be just at the elements, or it could be at the terminal block. Over on this side is where all of our wires are coming in. Our high voltage is coming in.
Can you thread did they have everything threaded through the legs when you pulled this machine?
So no, everything is exposed, and how you want to do everything when you're installing this machine. So yeah, when you're installing this machine, you want to have it perfectly laid out. So there is a gap in here in between these legs, and they have a diagram of where the holes should be drilled.
Oh, so they go through
yeah, so literally if you have this machine set in place and the holes drilled where they are, this cord set right here will go down straight down, and the only line that you would really see is this one going back over here.
Okay.
But these lines, both would go straight down in this gap. So literally,
that's wonderful.
So literally, if you had this right, my pump's in the way. This would all be
now. Do they have a
tucked down inside of there, going down underneath?
So does Slayer have like kind of a
Yeah, they have they don't have a template. They have a measurement
for you.
Yeah, for you.
Okay.
It'll tell you exactly, how far apart those holes are. Same, just the 2 screws, panel, easily removes. And that's just our main terminal block where our power is coming in and then going to everywhere it needs to go.
Okay, great.
One thing I forgot is showing you how the steam boiler heats.
Okay.
They use a transducer that's right here.
Oh, there it is.
And here's the piping to the transducer going to the steam boiler.
So this is a pressure transducer, not a PID.
Correct.
Which is lovely. That's great.
So PID is using a temperature probe.
Right. But a pressure.
And then that is an algorithm within the controller itself.
Okay.
But
the pressure transducer measures pressure.
Yes.
So it's a little bit.
Its reaction time is instantaneous depending on how it's programmed. So that is so that we can lower and raise our tray. So you pull that and twist it so it stays open. And now I can raise my tray and then lock it up in place.
Two levels, two heights, basically?
Yes. It's 3 heights.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, it's more than 3.
Oh, it's more than 3?
Yeah. There's one. There's one. I've got this all sideways. There's one. Yep, that's the last one. So 4 different positions.
Wonderful, okay. Okay, so you're gonna take the front off?
So yeah, taking the front off. So the nice thing about this machine, everything's Phillips screws. And they're all the same screw. So it makes it very easy to take apart.
So that's the hot water operation here.
Yeah.
And is that volume controlled and temperature controlled? So in
Yeah,
other words,
temperature is manual
Right.
adjustment of your cold.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, volume controlled how long it's gonna stay on for.
Is that programmed through
And
the
it can be
display?
start, stop. So you can set it for 30 seconds, but hit it again to stop it at 10.
Okay.
But yeah, it's programmed through your programming, so this has individual group
Displays.
programming, individual group displays of programming. This is a mode function down here for your brewing group.
What do you mean?
To put it either into a mode where it's a manual mode,
Oh, gotcha.
and then of course you would hit it to remember what you just did,
Okay.
and that would assign. So this literally just lifts, you pull your levers in the down position and you're just lifting it, pulling your wands back until you clear. And then you can go forward with it. So now you have access to taking your wands apart and rebuilding them. Here's
The
our,
pivot joint. So when you rebuild the wands,
yeah, you're taking it all apart from here. You're taking that nut off. You're taking your pipe off down here, and then once this nut off and the pipe is cleared off, then you can take this assembly out.
remind me how often?
I would say once a year.
Minimal. Okay. And then does that
You
ball?
could
Does that ball?
you could probably even go 2 years.
Okay. Does the ball need to be lubed or something or?
I forget what they're using on the bottom side. If they're using just, I'd have to look at the materials because it's been a while since I've seen one of these apart. But if it's just Teflon in between everything, no.
Okay.
Anytime the ball is touching metal, that part
Okay.
needs to be lubed.
That makes sense.
So if it's metal on metal, or metal on brass, or this ball joint on brass, that part needs to be lubed. The ball joint itself will never wear because it's stainless steel, but obviously the other components can. But you can easily get a year out of these. And if you're lower volume, probably even longer than that. These are your brew valves right here.
How often would you?
Probably every other year.
How do you know when you need to rebuild them? Is it that you rebuild them
Well,
or broke?
if they start leaking, so typically when these leak, they're leaking down the drain.
Okay. So you don't
So
know.
You don't know.
So is it best to just replace?
Best to replace them.
Okay, wait a
So
minute.
when you're doing it, so as a technician, when you're doing your yearly maintenance, what you're looking for is your expansion valve opening up. This is your expansion valve right here. That's your
Right.
expansion valve. So as the machine is reheating, or the brew group boiler is reheating, this expansion valve will open and you'll see water running out of it. If you never see water running out of it, guarantee you it's running out
Down the
our
drain.
brew valve.
I'm sorry.
It's running out the brew valve.
Okay.
So that's a sure sign you want it replaced.
That's a nice tip. So can you you can't rebuild these?
This particular brew valve, no. You might be able to source the plungers for them. Usually you'd have to get them straight from Europe. But I haven't found a place in the States that do these. If it was an ODE valve, yes, you can find the plungers for that all over the place.
So again, you would replace this
The whole valve assembly,
how often?
every other year,
Okay.
especially if you're high volume. If you're low volume, here again, you could probably get away, go a little longer, but I would still do your yearly inspection, and of course they'll be able to catch that.
Okay.
You know, if they see this not opening up. And here again, your expansion valves, you're gonna probably wanna replace, you know, maybe every 3 to 4 years.
So if I want to save a few bucks and I don't want to replace my brew valve, that my technician can look and see if there's.
They'll be able to see if it's functioning properly.
Okay. Awesome.
You know, if during the brewing process the expansion valve is leaking, that's a sure sign for it to be replaced.
Okay.
So the expansion valve should never leak while it's brewing.
Okay. I'm sorry. So let me just clarify. So when you're brewing, you should not see.
You should never see water coming out.
Okay. But when you're reheating, you should.
Yes.
Okay.
You'll see it coming out.
Just clarifying that.
So there's our heating element,
Right.
and then our high limits up here.
Okay. Great.
Here's the kicker.
What?
If you ever have to replace a heating element over on this group, you have to remove this per group.
Okay. Well, we won't mention that because it's not that's not something that. Why bring up something negative?
Just saying.
Hey, is there anything?
That is the way. That's the same for any multi-boiler.
All multi-boilers.
Not all of them. So any multi-boilers that are like this,
So-
with the saturated group. So obviously Espresso does this. This is based off a La Marzocco format, basically.
Okay.
These brewing groups with the saturated group heads. So Espresso has the same issue. So does La Marzocco.
Now the Eagle one, they're
vertical.
They're vertical. Yeah, I was going to
The
say
heating
that.
elements are on the bottom.
Okay.
The heating, so nice thing about the Eagle One is the heating elements are now replaceable, where in the Black Eagle or the Aurelia T3,
T3, right.
they were welded as part of the boiler.
Oh, gotcha.
So if you had a heating element go bad, you just replace the whole boiler.
So just to say, when we're comparing the Eagle One with the Slayer LP, the Eagle One does not have a pre-infusion control, barista-controlled pre-infusion.
does not.
So the Slayer is your best choice if you want that control. Okay, I think that's it. Thank you.
First things about maintenance is your most common items that you're always going to change is your group gaskets that are up underneath here and possibly your screens. And so with a flathead screwdriver, you're going to remove your screw, which also doubles as a diffuser. So this is a screw you never want to lose. As you can see, this screw has holes in it.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So that is your diffuser. And then you have your screen. And once your screen starts getting really scratched up and stuff, then you want to replace it or dent it. And then of course your group gasket is up underneath here, which you as a customer can replace. It's just a matter of getting a pick, jabbing it, pulling it out, and then putting the new one in.
So how often do you change screens?
I would recommend doing it every 3 months.
Oh, really? Just automatically?
The gasket. The screens are as needed.
Okay.
So screens can be, I have some customers that have to do it quarterly because they're really rough on everything
Right.
as far as washing. And
What do they, scratch it to death or something?
well, yeah, they just scrub it to death and, you know. But the maximum you would probably want to go is a year on your screens.
I know you change screens every year, right? Minimum?
Yeah,
Okay.
the longest I'll let them go is a year.
Okay.
So that's your first basic thing that really a customer should be doing with no issues.